The sun scorched Burton, Mississippi just past noon, baking the cracked pavement of Main Street. Inside the diner, the air was thick, not just with the heat, but with the kind of quiet that hums with secrets. Ceiling fans churned lazily, barely stirring the stale air, while regulars sipped coffee and traded familiar glances. Then the door swung open and the room froze. She stepped in, tall, black, dressed in a sharp suit under a light jacket, a leather folder tucked under one arm. Elise Rowe wasn't here to blend in. Her presence was a spark in a room full of kindling, and every eye in the diner felt the shift. She took a corner booth, ordered a Cobb salad, and opened her folder. Papers rustled. Names, dates, times, documents that didn't belong in a small-town diner unless someone wanted to be seen. Elise wasn't hiding, but she wasn't advertising either. She was waiting for what? No one knew, not yet. Officer Jared Flint, 29, third-generation Bratton PD, stepped into the diner after a pointless noise complaint call. Kids laughing too loud in a parking lot. He was here for coffee, nothing more. But when his eyes landed on Elise, alone, composed, scribbling notes over federal documents, his training kicked in. Not the academy kind, the kind passed down through generations of badges. Outsider, suspicious, controlled the situation. He adjusted his duty belt and approached. "Ma'am, you waiting for someone?" His tone was polite, but it carried an edge like a blade wrapped in velvet. Elise didn't look up. "Just having lunch." He leaned closer, catching a glimpse of an emblem on her papers, faded but unmistakable. Federal, his jaw tightened. "You with the feds?" She closed her folder, meeting his gaze for the first time. "You saw a seal on a document. That's not a crime." Flint's hand hovered near his radio. "I've seen folks come through here pretending to be all kinds of things. Next thing you know, they're stirring trouble, streaming it live. Dangerous times to be carrying the wrong ID." Elise's voice stayed calm, precise. "I'm not wearing an ID. I'm eating lunch." He smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Unit 3 requesting backup to the diner. Possible fraudulent ID. Subject may be recording or inciting." The diner went still. A white couple booths over muttered, "She doesn't belong here." The manager peeked nervously from behind the counter. Flint pointed their way. "See, it's not just me." Ellis's eyes locked on his, unyielding. "Your gut isn't the law, and your suspicion isn't probable cause." He leaned in, voice low. "You going to lawyer me now?" She reached into her jacket, slow and deliberate, pulling out a badge wallet. She opened it just enough for Flint to see. Real federal, undeniable. "Just for you," she said. Then with a voice that cut through the diner's haze, she added, "I am here on official assignment." "The man I came to see is your police chief." Flint froze. The couple stopped whispering. The waitress dropped a spoon. "You just called for backup," Elise said evenly. "On the woman sent to arrest your boss." Broughton was the kind of town where time seemed to stand still. Hand-painted signs lined Main Street. Church bells rang on Sundays. And everyone knew each other's dogs by name. But beneath the charm was a rot no one dared name. Complaints vanished. Body cams failed. A young black man went missing 2 summers ago, and the case was closed in 48 hours. Drugs, they said. Bad company. No one asked questions. Elise Rowe had been watching Broughton for 6 months, working from the shadows, piecing together a puzzle no one wanted solved. Her job wasn't desk work. It was digging up truths buried under layers of silence. She'd uncovered complaints against the Broughton PD, racial profiling, intimidation, injuries during arrests that never made it to court. Someone was cleaning up the messes, and that someone was Chief Dale Crum. Crum was a local legend, military background, spotless record, the face of law and order. To the press, he was a hero. To Broughton's people of color, he was a shadow you didn't cross. His badge didn't just protect him. It made him untouchable until now. Elise wasn't here to cause a scene. She was here for answers, playing by the book until the book failed the people it was meant to serve. Her investigation had grown quietly like a storm gathering on the horizon. A mother whose son was tased in his own driveway. A former officer whose body cam footage vanished. A store owner ignored after refusing to play ball with the PD, alone. These were just stories. Together, they were evidence. She'd chosen the diner for a reason. Public enough to be safe, quiet enough to meet her final source, a dispatcher ready to hand over incriminating texts. But Flint had walked in instead, a product of the system, obedient, confident, and blind to the cracks in his world. To him, Elise wasn't a person. She was a risk, and risks needed to be controlled. When Flint saw her badge, his world tilted. If that's real, he said, voice tight. Why are you eating here alone? No backup. I don't need backup to eat, Elise replied. He reached for his radio again. Unit 3 to base. Need immediate confirmation. Possible impersonation of federal personnel. Elise leaned forward, her voice a quiet blade. That call is logged, Officer Flint. You're misidentifying a federal investigator and interfering with a classified operation. Step back before you write yourself into a felony. The diner was a pressure cooker now. Customers stared, frozen. The waitress hid in the kitchen. Flint's pride was on trial, and Elise was the prosecution. Back at the station, Chief Dale Crum hung up his phone, muttering, You've got to be kidding me. Flint's call had rattled him, not because he believed it, but because he didn't. A black woman claiming to be a Fed in his town. Crum grabbed his keys and headed to the diner. He'd handled outsiders before. When Crum walked in, the air shifted, shoulders squared, jaw set. He strode in like he owned the place. Which one of you thinks you're federal? He growled, sarcasm dripping. I didn't flinch. She handed him a document, a subpoena signed by a federal judge attached to a sealed indictment. I don't think I'm federal. I am. And this is your copy. Crum's eyes scanned the page, narrowing. What the hell is this? The end of your cover, Elise said. She pulled out a thick file marked confidential and began listing violations, unauthorized wiretaps, unreported stops involving minors, deleted body cam footage, payments to intimidate witnesses. Shall I continue? Crum's face hardened. You've got nothing. She flipped to the next page. Testimony from your former deputy. Bank records showing off-book transfers. Text between you and criminal intermediaries. The diner was silent, not from fear, but from the weight of truth. Elise produced the final piece, an arrest warrant, federally sealed. Dale Crum, you are under arrest. He laughed, short and cruel. In my town, you think this holds? Before Elise could respond, the door swung open. A U.S. Marshal stepped in, badge flashing. Then another, then a third. This is a federal operation, the first said. You're in our custody. Crum's hands twitched, but the marshals were faster. He was face down on the floor, zip-tied, his authority shattered. The waitress was filming. So was a teenager by the door. Even the couple who'd backed Flint earlier sat silent, watching. Elise turned to Flint, still frozen. You called for backup, officer. They came. The arrest was only the beginning. At headquarters, Elise sat across from Flint in a bare conference room. He was defensive, arms crossed, but the cracks in his facade were showing. We're not here to destroy people, Elise said, her voice steady. We're here to dismantle patterns. That starts with truth. She slid a file across the table. Incident reports Flint had signed. Body cam logs that vanished after his shifts. Complaints dismissed without review. Then she played an audio clip. Flint's voice. A 14-year-old boy pleading. I'm not resisting, sir. A thud. Silence. Flint's breath caught. You didn't mean to hurt him, Elise said. But you didn't report it either. And now he thinks he's the one who did something wrong. Flint looked down, voice barely audible. What do you want from me? I want you to talk, she said. Not to save yourself, but because you were inside the circle. You know how it worked. Someone has to break it. He nodded, not out of trust, but because the silence he'd lived by no longer held. What Flint revealed was worse than Elise had expected. Officers were told to target certain streets for fines, not safety. Internal affairs reports went to Crum's private inbox. Promotions rewarded silence. Question the system, and you'd be sent to the worst part of town with no backup. This wasn't negligence. It was a machine. Flint's statement, combined with L's evidence, blew the case open. Media vans descended on Broughton. Civil rights attorneys arrived. Federal oversight committees demanded access. The town wasn't quiet anymore. It was a reckoning. Elise didn't stay for the cameras. She'd done her job, cracked the armor, found a witness, exposed the truth. As she left Broughton, the town was already changing. Doors once shut were opening. Whispers were turning into voices. The badge was being questioned. Before boarding her train, Flint found her out of uniform. No badge. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Don't say it to me, Elise replied. Say it to the next person afraid to walk into a diner alone. Say it with your actions when no one's looking. He nodded. Can I fix any of this? No one fixes it alone, she said. But you can stop it from growing. Elise boarded the train, opened her leather notebook and wrote, Case closed. Below it in smaller script she added, Sometimes the most dangerous threat is the silence we've all learned to